You're listening to the North Parkway Podcast, weekly talks designed to help you take the next step in your spiritual journey. You can learn more about our church at northparkway.org. And if these talks are helpful to you, consider using the link in the description to give. Your financial support helps us continue to make great content. All right, well, that's enough intro. Let's get to today's talk.
Hey friends, let me give you a heads up. Today's talk is part of a unique teaching series. Rather than telling you what John the Apostle wrote about Jesus in his famous biography about his life, I'm going to tell you the stories that John saw in character as John. So lean in, fire up that imagination, and let me paint a picture of Jesus of Nazareth through a lens that you've never looked through before.
So I'm told today is the day that you honor your fathers. I'd like to take a minute to honor my father, my dad, Zebedee, one of the best fishermen on the coast of Capernaum. And there are a lot of fishermen there. That's kind of what we do. It's a fishing town. But he's one of the best. Multiple ships, got a lot of guys who work for Dad, worked his way up from nothing to build a business. And I learned a lot from that guy. He taught me how to tie knots. He taught me how to groom my beard. He taught me the two most important words for every married man to learn. Yes, dear. A lot of good things in life. My father taught me a lot of valuable things in life. But the most important thing that he taught, the thing that he hammered the most, was a work ethic, a sense of responsibility and accountability. This idea that as a young man, it was my job to do stuff. One of his favorite passages from our scripture, when I was living, we didn't have what you called the New Testament. We had the book of the law, and we had the prophets, and then we had wisdom literature, and he used to tell me all the time, son, whatever you find for your hands to do, do it with all of your might. The Lord gave you a mind, He gave you muscle, and He gave you a job to work. And he used to say it all the time. And from my earliest years, I remember doing work because in a fisherman's home, there are no freeloaders. Even the littlest, one of my smallest memories was going out and looking through the nets after Dad would bring them back and finding the spots that needed to be mended. And then when I got a little bit better at tying ropes, I was the one mending it. Before I would go to school with my friends, I would mend the nets. 5 to 10 years old, all of my buddies and I, we all went to synagogue to learn the book of the law, to learn to love the Lord. And if you actually paid attention, maybe to learn how to read. I was never really great at it, but if you own a business, you better know how to read a little bit. And by the time I turned 10, like most of my friends who were not wealthy enough or smart enough to continue in school, I went and started helping Dad on the boat. Now, I only thought work was hard when I was mending the nets and sorting the fish. Clean, unclean, clean, unclean. Then I got to go on the boat and I got to learn about rowing and how to cast the net and how to adjust the sails to move in the wind and how to know where to go. And well, we went here yesterday, son. Go over here to put the nets down. And we worked hard. My back was sore every day at the end of work. But Dad taught me the value of doing stuff. And I had a certain self-confidence that came with knowing I am doing something, whatever it is that I find for my hands to do. I did it with all of my might, whether that was rowing or sorting fish, or following around a teacher who went all over the country. When I signed up to follow Jesus, it went from sore back to sore feet. We walked everywhere, all over, north and south and north and south and north and south. Sometimes I said, Jesus, can we just pick a spot and stay for a little while? But no. We went all over the country, and oftentimes we would go to Jerusalem every time there was a feast. We would, like every other good Jew, we would go to the capital for the feast. And one of these times, something interesting happened, and I wrote about it in my book. Chapter 5 is how your people, I didn't have chapters. I just wrote when it came to me. Chapter 5, if you want to read about it. But Jesus did something really unique, and I want to share that moment with you because there's something so powerful that it took me a while to realize. So we're in town for this feast. And like the other 11 of the guys, I was enjoying a little bit of sleep. It was still dark outside. Jesus came back from an early morning of prayer. He woke us up. He said, guys, boys, wake up. We need to go see somebody. Okay. When he says, let's go, I don't ask questions. I learned he'll tell you if he wants you to know. So we all got up, had a little breakfast, and we followed Jesus. We're walking through town, and Jerusalem was the big city anyway, but it was especially overloaded with all of these people in town for the feast. And we walked over close to the temple, and there was this large pool. We called it the Pool of Bethesda. It's actually still there today. It's not in very good shape today, but you can still see it in Jerusalem today. It's large pool, and we went there to see somebody. Now, when we got there, and I had been by there, but I had never really paid attention to it. It was impressive. Huge white limestone, and the pool was set up in two sections. You had one spot that was deep, and then a wall, and that was sort of the reservoir. And then on the other side, you had this large rectangular pool with steps that you would step down to gradually go into the water so you could become ritually clean. There were so many different times as a Jew that you would need to have a ritual bath. You'd have to take an actual bath first, and then you go into this one to get properly cleansed. And so it was in use a lot of the time. And again, beautiful spot on a normal day. They have these nice covered walkways all around the pool so that you could just enjoy the time. But at feast time, it was overrun with sick people. And that was the time we went there. You could smell them before you even came around the corner to see the pool. Invalids and people who couldn't walk right, people who couldn't see well, people who had all manner of disabilities were lined all around the pool in the shade and back behind them. And it was like several rows of sick people hanging out around this pool. And I asked one of our guys who was a little more familiar with this, what are these sick people all doing around the pool? Like, why are we here? I mean, I understand Jesus is probably there to heal people. What are we doing here? And he said, oh, John, don't you know, the legend says that once a year, an angel comes and stirs up the water, and if you're the first person into the pool, then God will heal you. Whatever the ailment is, you'll be healed. So, oh, I get it. That's why every square inch around the pool was stacked full of sick people. And Jesus brought us there. And I don't ask questions. I just go where he says, guys, let's go today. But we're there, and I'm like, wow. For people gathered around a pool that's about bathing, there's some people who haven't bathed in a while. It smelled not great. And you hear the sound of coughing and moaning, and I was like, man, I hope that whatever they have doesn't jump off of them onto me. Let's just walk carefully between. And Jesus, we get there, and he stops, and he just starts scanning the crowd. He's looking. Like, okay, I think he's looking for someone. Again, he didn't tell us yet why we were there. He's looking. Finally, he's there. He said, there we go. Okay. Over here, boys. So we're stepping over people, and I'm not trying not to step on hands and mess up people's bed rolls that they have, because I don't know how long they've been there. We go around to the other side, and Jesus stops at this guy, this man who was much older than I was, probably, I don't know, maybe 40 years old. Started to have some gray in the scraggly beard, and he did not smell great. He didn't look healthy, and you could tell just by looking at him, his legs were all shriveled and emaciated. The arms were strong, but the legs, there's a saying in your culture, I think, about skipping leg day. He skipped every leg day. There was no muscle there. So, okay, I can see what's going on. And Jesus walks up. Hey, hello, peace to you. He looks up, and to you as well. Jesus said, you got a nice spot here. Did you get here early? As he was close to the edge, the water's edge, I mean, it went several people back. He said, he kind of chuckled. He said, I get here as early as I can every day. Every day For the last 38 years, I've been getting here early every day that I can to get up to the front of the line. And Jesus said, 38 years, huh? And I've been around Jesus for long enough. I know how the healing thing goes. I'm there and I'm sort of muttering to the other guys. We're talking about crowd control. You know, some of the guys that are a little more physically imposing, we're like, okay, we're gonna form a line here. If people try to come in here, we'll say the master will see you when there's time. Are the Romans around? Are we gonna get in trouble for this? Our minds are everywhere. Jesus is laser focused on one person in the middle of the crowd. And he's mulling over this thing, 38 years. 38 years. He's been coming here for 38 years. And Jesus asked him a simple question, but it was, in my mind, a little bit offensive. It was a shocking question, and at first I didn't understand why he would ask. He looked at the man, and he said, "Do you want to be well?" Really? Really? I mean, I'm just being honest. I didn't know where he was going with this. And he says to the man, "Do you want to be well?" And I'm thinking, Jesus, he's not here for the environment. He's not here because he just likes the company. Okay? He didn't come here and crawl through a crowd, probably in the dark, his army crawling. I mean, obviously, the guy can't walk. He didn't come here just to hang out. He's here. Yes, of course he's here because he wants to be well. Why would you ask that? It's weird. It's kind of offensive. If I'm the man, I would be a little bit offended. But as soon as the man responded, I understood why the master asked the question. You see, I didn't understand this until after Jesus went back to heaven and the Holy Spirit came to be with me and with those of us who were the rest of the believers. Jesus, there were times when the Holy Spirit would tell him something that he couldn't possibly know. And I think this was one of those moments because I think he knew what this guy was dealing with inside before he opened his mouth. But this crippled man looked at Jesus when Jesus asked, "Do you want to be well?" And it was a simple yes or no question. The obvious answer, yes, I want to be well. That wasn't how he answered. He said, do I want to be well? He said, "Sir, I can't get into the pool fast enough. Every time that the angel comes to stir up the waters, there's nobody here to carry me down into the water. There's nobody here to help me. I'm all alone. And every time that the angel stirs up the water, when I start to crawl, somebody else is faster and they get in there before I do. I'm here all of the time and nobody will help me. I can't do it. I can't." And when he responded to a simple yes or no question with "I can't," I realized, oh, I've seen that before. I've seen that in my countrymen. See, as a Jew, when I was growing up, there were a lot of people who settled into this idea of "I can't." Because let me tell you, even as a successful fisherman like my father, he had to pay licenses to the Jewish governor to be allowed to fish. He had to pay taxes for the temple. He had to pay taxes to our governor. He had to pay taxes to Rome. By the time all the taxes were done, it's hard to even make a living. And we were one of the families that were doing better. There were plenty of people that had no chance, and no matter how hard they work, all the money goes to the rich people, and I'm barely surviving. No matter how hard we push back, the Romans were the most powerful army on the face of the earth. There's no chance for us to get them out of the country. We're stuck. And it was normal for my friends to take on this, I just can't. What's the point? Why even try? I figure their backs were permanently curved from this posture. You know, my dad was always, strong, stand up straight, son. Stand up straight, boy. Well, there were people that were just beaten down and defeated before they ever even started. And I saw this man and I heard him talk and I said, oh, he's one of those. And honestly, and I'm ashamed of this now, but I judged him. Because I grew up with this value. You work hard and you do stuff, and that's what makes you a man. And this guy had given up on life. He'd given up on everything. He just accepted that he was defeated. And the answer was right in front of him. Jesus was standing there. But I looked at Jesus and I'm watching Jesus. And as I'm judging him on the inside, I see Jesus' face, and there was no judgment in his eyes at all. There was compassion. There was kindness. I could see almost a sadness in Jesus' eyes as he saw the state of this man. And Jesus realized something that was going on with him that I wasn't aware of until much, much later. Jesus realized that not only were his legs crippled, but his will was crippled. The thing that God had put in him to do, this created in the image of God to work and to do something with your life, he had lost it. And even more than the inability to walk, the inability to try was all over this man. And Jesus saw him with compassion. And Jesus spoke to him. He responded to this man's, I can't, no one will help me. Oh, poor woe is me. He responded in an interesting way. Jesus did not reach his hand down and pull him up and say, hey, I heal you, bro hug, and go. He didn't do that. Sometimes he did. Jesus didn't say, if you have enough faith, then you'll be well. He didn't do that either. He looked at the man and he said, get up and take your mat and walk. And here's a guy who had given up on being able to do anything, and Jesus is fully capable of healing him, but instead of just saying, you're healed, he says, do something. Take action. You're so used to not being able to do something, take action. And he says this to him, and there's this quiet in the air. As the background moans and coughs and chatter is still going on right here in this tiny pocket in the middle of a crowd. There's a suspense in the air when Jesus says, get up and walk. And I'm waiting with bated breath. Is he going to do it? What's he going to do? Is this man going to be offended that the teacher is telling him to do something that he can't when he just got finished saying, I can't do anything? Jesus says, walk. We're watching. We're like, what's going to happen? And I noticed something. The moment that Jesus said, get up and walk, I noticed his leg start twitching. And this man, he gasped. And his hands start shaking. He said, Everyone starts looking around. What's happening to this guy? Is he seizing? Is he dying? And he starts moving his leg. And he looks at Jesus with a sense of wonder and astonishment. And Jesus just smiles. And I watch a man's legs go from shriveled up to, better looking than mine. It's kind of embarrassing. But he got strength back in him. And he gets up onto his hands and knees. And he looks and he's laughing. And he's quivering, and he stands up on his feet. And he starts crying and laughing, and we're slapping each other on the back, and Jesus is laughing and looking at him, and tears start to come to his eyes as he sees this man restored not only physically, but this man who for years had accepted this role. I can't do anything. I'm dependent on everyone else. As he sees this man who I can't had infected him deeper than his disability, get down, roll up his mat, and walk right on home. Wow. Jesus healed a lot of people. Jesus healed a lot of cripples. That one was different. Because Jesus didn't just heal his legs, he healed his heart, he healed his emotions, he healed his willpower. And I wrote about it because there's something so powerful. I saw it in so many of my countrymen, and I think that maybe that still happens to people in your day. That sometimes I can't become so strong in your life that it swallows up every bit of positivity. It swallows up your will to try, and people just accept defeat and walk around. I can't. I can't. I can't. And Jesus saw that and saw that something was so broken, and he brought healing. And I want to tell you about this dynamic, and this is something for you to write down so you can remember it. You can write it down in whatever way you want, but let me implore you, don't let your disability become your identity. We all in life have things that we can't do. When I saw that man, I judged him because I was 18 years old and I could do anything my mind could envision. I could jump over stuff. I probably jumped over stuff I shouldn't have tried, but I tried anyway just to say I can. I love that I could do stuff. I was an old man when I wrote this story down, and I had a different perspective. Because when I got older, I started realizing, oh, there are other things that I can't do. There are other things that I used to be able to do that I no longer could. It was a depressing moment to get older and realize I no longer can jump over this. I no longer can eat this and have a good night's sleep. There's a lot of stuff I can't do. And started to become the center of my life. And I remembered this moment and I said, I've got to write that down. Don't let your disability become your identity. It's so easy for it to happen. And it doesn't even have to be a major problem for this to happen. See, write this down. Every challenge has the potential to produce helplessness. This guy had every right to turn his concept of himself into, I am a cripple, that's all I'll ever be, that's all I can do. He had every right, it's understandable. He was a beggar. That was his role in life until Jesus. But I saw plenty of other people with much lesser problems still accept that they can't. People who had farmed their whole lives and say, no matter how hard I work, government takes it all, I can't. And they walked around like this. People who their spouse died and they couldn't find another one, and I'll never have somebody around me, I can't. I'll never find love, I can't. I'll never be successful, I can't. I'll never have enough money, I can't. And that became the whole subject of their life. That became the whole center of their existence. Don't let that be you. Because if you focus so much on your disability, if you focus so much on what you can't do, then you will lose sight of something so important, something my father instilled in me, but it's still easy to forget. Write this down. Your life is full of I cans. It's full of them. There are so many things in life that you can do. And maybe some of you are hearing me and saying, oh, that's easy for you to say, Mr. Young, and your whole life ahead of you. No. Your life is full of I can, and you were designed for it. My father was right when he said this over and over and over. Whatever you find for your hands to do, do it with all of your might. God created you to work. He created you to do something. And when I did stuff, even small stuff, there was something inside me that came alive. There was something about that design in me that resonated and said, yes, I can. And the things that you can't do would love to choke that out of your life. There's so much in life that you can do. Don't get so swallowed up in what you can't that you no longer see it. You were made for I can. And the amazing thing I learned as a boy, that power of what I can and the way that you feel inside when you do something, it doesn't have to be something great. 5-year-old me mending nets for Dad's fishing boat, it did not sound like a very big deal, but I felt like I was contributing. I was helping Dad. 11-year-old me sorting fish, I was helping Dad. I realized once I was a grown man, I realized how much Dad was just trying to help me. 10-year-old rowing, I thought I was so strong. I didn't realize Dad was doing most of the work. But it was teaching me something valuable. I can, and even in the little things, I can is so powerful, and you need that in your life. Your life is full of them. If you only look, you will see them, but the things that you can't do will choke that out. I can. Here's the last thing that I learned when Jesus talked to this man. God created you for I can. God created you to work, but you have to understand it's not just a gift to you. It's a gift that comes with expectations. See, write this down. Every ability comes with accountability. God gave you the ability to do things in life, and He expects you to work at it. Again, if Dad said it once, He said it 1,000 times. Whatever you find for your hands to do, do it with all of your might. You can't work when you're dead, son. Work while you can. And we worked. Now we took a break once a week. We would rest. We would take a whole day of rest, but the other 6, let me tell you, work. God expects you to work hard at whatever it is that's your role. And all of our roles are different. And your role changes as you age. When I was a boy, Dad didn't expect me to take the fish to the market and sell them. He just expected me to do what He had given me to do. But as I grew, my responsibilities grew and I did more. Let me tell you, when I was an old man, my responsibilities became less, because I could no longer do things, but there was still a lot that I could do. Let me give you, as we bring this around to a finish, let me tell you a few things that you can do, no matter where you are in life. You can choose encouragement over criticism. You can choose that. You can choose to spew poison into someone's life or life-giving waters to their soul. You can choose that. You can. No matter where you are in life, you can choose to honor the body that God has rented to you for this season. Whether it's strong and healthy or whether it's withering away, you can choose to treat it well. No matter how much money you have, you can choose to manage it wisely. You can. No matter what relationship is in your life, you can choose to be patient and understanding with your spouse or with your neighbor or with your parent or with your child. There's so much that you can do, and there's so much value in saying, I can, and I'm not going to focus on what I can't. I'm going to focus on what I can do. God expects you to work hard with whatever it is that you can. And let me tell you, I am sure that some of you came into this gathering, you came in to listen today, and the truth is, life has been hard on you. And maybe the things that you can't do are tragic things. Maybe your body no longer functions as it should. Maybe you desperately wanted to be loved and you're single and you're feeling like that time is over. Maybe you've tried so hard and you've worked so hard and you can't. The manager or the boss keeps saying, we don't need your help anymore. Maybe, I don't know what it is. But I know the power of that helplessness. I saw it in that man's face. I saw it in some of my friends. There were times I felt helpless. Jesus goes back to the Father, and the 11 of us are here saying, how are we supposed to do any of this? But you weren't designed to be helpless. God gave you a mind. God gave you a body. God gave you work to do. And there's so much good when you reconnect with that. Maybe you walked in here today feeling like you can't. But the good news is, just like Jesus stepped into the scene and changed one man's life, God is here today to help you to reconnect with what you can, to give you the dignity of being able to have meaning and value and a reason to get up in the morning and something that you can contribute, even if it's small. And I believe as we look for those things in life, that he will help us to find them and to do them with all of our might and to take joy and pride and have a sense of inner strength that comes from saying, I may not be able to do this, I may not be able to do this, but whatever it is that I find for my hands to do, I do it with all of my might. I do it the best that I can, and I give that as an offering to God who created me, because I'm accountable to him. There's power and there's meaning in that. So don't ever let your disability become your identity. With his help, look for and find the I can in your life. And it'll make so much difference. Hey, this is Pastor Chris again. Thanks for listening. If today's talk was helpful in your spiritual life, odds are there's someone you know who could benefit from it. Take a minute right now to share it with them. And if you live in the area, come try out a service in person, because church is more fun with friends. See you next time.